Hey, good evening everyone. Today we're going to be going a video, we're going to be talking about what it is that chiropractors specialize in, what a chiropractic specialty, and really explaining a bit more about how chiropractic works. So chiropractors, our main specialty is with the nervous system. So you see a dentist, they focus on the teeth, a cardiologist on the heart. Our focus will always be on the nervous system. And one of the ways I'd always think of the nervous system is a bit like a wiring system. So you think of, say, like right now I'm in this building and this building has electricity. Electricity, of course, is the main power source. And there's all the different appliances like my laptop, like the TV, like the lights above me, this phone even. Everything is being powered in some sense by that electricity. However, the electricity and those different devices, they don't get the electricity to each other by magic. There has to be something passing to them. And that's usually by cables or by wires. And it's quite similar for your body. One way to think of the nervous system is like a mix of the electrical system and all those wires. So if you think of the brain is like that electricity. It's powering, it's controlling everything. All those different appliances, the laptop, the TV, the lights, they're all the muscles, the skin, the organs, all the different body parts. But there has to be something connecting the two of them, and that is the nerves. So as chiropractors, our main focus is the nerves of the body, kind of helping to be almost like a human electrician, helping correct some of those differences in the middle so that the body and the brain communicate properly. And when the body and the brain communicate properly, that's when the body can work at its best. At its core, your body is a self-healing, self-organizing unit. It is always healing things, always improving on things. It's keeping you healthy every single day of your life. It literally does millions of things every single day, whether it's turning food into living tissue, whether it's fighting viruses, whether it's keeping good bacteria, or even just healing cuts and wounds. Whatever it is, your body is always trying to do something to help you. All it needs is not me telling it how something should be done more or done less, but just no interference. Moving some of those blockages, and that's when the body is going to be able to heal things as best as possible. I know a lot of people think about chiropractors. They think about the bones, they think about the spine, and the reason for this is just because in these big holes you see in the middle of the spine, this is where we have the most important nerves of the body. So these nerves are running through parts of the spinal cord, and if these nerves are affected, it can have a much bigger, more systemic effect on the rest of the body. So when there is a misalignment of those bones, say something goes from here, but instead it starts to move more out of place like this, closing that hole, that's going to start to affect the function of the body. And so as chiropractors, we work with those bones, helping to realign things, taking some of that pressure off of the nervous system. But really, even though we're working with the bones, it's more about those nerves contained within. One thing's a bit different about this practice here at Vitality Chiropractic compared to a lot of my colleagues, is a lot of my colleagues will focus on what we call full body or full spine. However, I specialize in an area, just the top part of the neck, just the top two bones. And this is just for the simple reason that when I was working before as full body and full spine, I found I was getting much better results, much faster, for much more difficult cases by just specializing in this top area. Even say back home, when I was working with my mother, she used to get low back pain, she used to get shooting pain down her legs. Even for her, I'd only adjust this top level. And she can be, several thousand miles away and doesn't need the same kind of checkups and level of checkups as she used to. The reason for this is because at that top level, we have what's called the brainstem. It's one of the most important parts of the whole of this nerve or nervous system. One thing I was talking about is I mentioned the idea of an electrical system, like the electrical system in this building. But there's one thing missing from that analogy, and that's the fuse box. So the fuse box, of course, say for this building, is something which is controlling everything. Say in this building, say this laptop I have next to me, if I took this pair of scissors and I cut the wire to it, it might turn off the laptop. But if I took a hammer and I threw it into the fuse box, it could turn off everything. It could turn off the lights, the laptop, the TV, because it has such a big effect on all the other parts of the whole building. And the same thing for that brainstem. The brainstem has a very systemic effect on the rest of the body, as it is also a control center for those other parts of the body as well. So something gets affected there, it can affect things all the way through the different parts of the body. That brainstem is located in those top two bones, hence why we work and focus on that area. So that area is located at the top part of the spine. So here, of course, we have the skull, and then we have the top area of the spine. And these top two bones here, C1 and here C2, these are the upper cervical bones, these top two bones I was talking about. And sitting in the middle there where my finger is, where it says push down, that's where we would have the brainstem. And as I mentioned, the brainstem is a control center, but it's also a relay center. So when I say a control center, it's some of the direct control areas in some of those main neurons, and some of those other control, I think is the IML off the top of my head. And the IML, you'll have other control areas for your breathing, your digestion, your heart rate, your balance centers, and also the cranial nerves, as well as affecting also your immune response as well. When I say cranial nerve, the cranial nerves are the ones that supply all of the information to your head, to your neck, your shoulders, down your arm to your fingers. And when I say the head, that also includes the eyes, the ears, the nose, throat, as well as all the other senses that are controlled in this area. So if there is something going on in this top area, it makes sense. They can start to affect all those areas, whether it's, say, causing problems with the inner ear, affecting balance, maybe giving someone a headache, maybe even affecting, say, some of their vision, as well as affecting further down the neck, the shoulders to the arm. But as I mentioned, it's also a relay center. So in that relay center, essentially it's just making sure the messages from the brain to the body and the body to the brain are going in the right direction. Because if you have a message, say, coming from your stomach, but it goes to the wrong part of the brain, it goes to the part of the brain for the leg, that's going to create problems, that's going to create confusion, and that could even start to affect what's happening lower down in the body, not just in these top areas closer to the neck. In that top area, those top two bones, they look like this. So that's what we can see in the top model, and these are life size. And as I mentioned, we want this hole to be as big as possible. However, we have this misalignment and that hole gets smaller. We call this a subluxation. This subluxation is really what chiropractors are focusing on. It's about finding any area where there's a problem with the nerves in the body that is caused by subluxation, not caused by anything else. Then we would have to refer, of course, to a different kind of doctor. But if we do have this subluxation, as we mentioned, of course, we want to make sure that isn't there. We want to make sure the bones are better aligned. The brainstem in the body is around this tall, about that tall as that much of your finger. So as it's running through, we want to make sure, of course, that there's no pressure on that area. However, if we have that rotation of bones, it's going to pinch on that brainstem. This can lead to one of two things. Either number one, it can start to directly pinch that area, affecting those control centers, affecting those relay centers. Or number two, what may happen, because your body is very smart, it's very, very intelligent, is it may do this. It may shift. And when it shifts, that creates some space now for the brainstem. But practically what's happened then is now there's this tilt. And the head, the skull, is still sitting on these top two grooves we can see here. So it means now the head would be tilted as well. But no one walks around like this because it would be strange and it would be uncomfortable. So instead they'll shift their shoulders to make up for the difference. But now the shoulders are uneven. And when the shoulders move, that starts to move the mid-spine, which is coming down the center. That'll move the lower spine, that'll rotate their hips, that'll even lead one leg potentially being longer or shorter than the other leg. And all of these changes can start just from this fundamental change at this top level. So what we do in our practice is we do any kind of examination to find out if there is the presence of this kind of problem, what we call subluxation, which may be having an effect on the nerve system. Classically, this may present in our patients as changes in posture, especially of the neck and of the head. It can also start to affect the posture further down in the body. It can start to affect the strength, especially of the arm, affect balance, and it can also affect what we see on our nerve scans as well. If anyone has any questions about this, about chiropractic, or more about the nervous system, feel free to put them in the comments. You can give us a call at 8438-9550, or you can email us at help@vitalitychiropracticcenters.com, and we'll make sure we get back to you as soon as possible.